it's important to keep in mind while we are discussing Edward Snowden that because of his revelations, we are still learning more about exactly what the NSA is monitoring and how the agency is going about it. One of the people who has spent a lot of time combing through these papers is security technologist Bruce Schneier. He wrote the book Liars and Outliers, Enabling the Trust That Society Needs to Thrive. He spoke on Wednesday at the Cato Institute conference on NSA surveillance, along with a number of journalists and a few politicians. I had a chance to catch up with him right after his speech, and I asked him what he looks for in all of these NSA documents in order to come up with stories.
Well, I'm looking for technology stories. I mean, other people are looking for different things. But what I want to know is how surveillance works when a large nation does it, so we can build an internet to protect ourselves.
Sure. And is there any way that you can direct others, other journalists that are trying to dig through all this stuff to help them find these newsworthy stories that just aren't being covered?
You know, I mean, people are looking through the documents and writing their own stories. I mean, the stories coming out of The Guardian, the stories coming out of the Washington Post, New York Times. There's an organization in Brazil or in Germany. So, I mean, people are looking for different things, and I'm sure different reporters have different things they're looking for. So I don't think there's a lot of coordination or direction. You know, I mean, I'm involved in technology. That's what I'm looking for.
Now, obviously, as I said, you're a part of this huge NSA leak. How much more is there to come out? How much more of this Pandora's box have we got to look at?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not in charge of the stories. You know, if I find something that's a story, you know, we'll write about it. But, you know, what else is happening? You know, I don't have a window into that.
Sure. Now, journalists oftentimes, when they're digging through these NSA surveillance stories, they, as we heard a little bit earlier in the Cato Institute NSA conference, we heard them talking about how journalists themselves are not protecting either themselves, and also the sources that they talk to are not protecting themselves. Are you, in fact, protecting yourself with encryption techniques?
I am, and every journalist I've worked with and everybody who's seen the documents, as far as I know, is protecting themselves. I mean, they might do a better or worse job, but people are actually taking this very seriously. These documents are not floating around. The Guardian has them in a locked room protected by guards. You know, they're protected by encryption. Any conversations are encrypted. People are taking this seriously. Documents are being redacted, so you know, secrets aren't revealed that involve, you know, the bad guys. So I think all the reporters, I've been impressed by how seriously they all take this.
Now, Barton Gellman of the Washington Post said that there is a 0% chance of protecting yourself from sophisticated government opponents who try to, in fact, get your information. Do you think that's true?
I do. I think, in general, what we've learned from the stories so far is that if a government, and not just the United States, if a large government wants to target your computer, they can get in. But we actually knew that already. I mean, we know that attack is easier than defense. We know that a concerted cyber criminal can break into your computer. So it's certainly true, but it's not really a surprise.
Now, Siobhan Gorman from the Wall Street Journal said that the NSA has become almost too big to fail with the amount of information and data that it collects. Do you think that that's an accurate statement? And if so, or if not, can we reform it?
Now, I think reform is possible. I mean, fundamentally, the NSA has two missions: to protect communications and to eavesdrop on communications of the adversaries. And what's happened is one mission, the attack mission, has gotten out of control. And it's just really a matter of pulling in the balance. Now, that is the United States. We actually have to worry about the rest of the world. And I think we all have to realize that we collectively, all nations, are safer if nobody can eavesdrop than if everybody can eavesdrop. And once we realize that the arms race is actually a positive-sum game, then we have to deal with the sort of the non-compliant actors, the non-nation states, the criminals who aren't going to abide by that kind of rule. And once you have coordination among nations, I think that's doable. Now, this is a hard process, but I think that is really the way forward.
And in one of your articles that you recently wrote for The Guardian, you said that this NSA surveillance is actually making the American public and the internet community and in general less secure. Can you explain that?
So one of the things we know the NSA is doing is they're deliberately weakening security products. So they are inserting vulnerabilities that they can later exploit. Now, those vulnerabilities, if you think about it, are there for everybody, so everybody can exploit them. So by weakening the security standards, they're making us less safe against everybody who might want to eavesdrop.
Sure. Now, I want to play a quick clip from Senator Wyden when he spoke at that Cato NSA conference. Let's take a listen to that.
There is a real difference between secret operations and secret law. Operations have to be kept secret because that's what affects the well-being of the dedicated people who work in the intelligence field. And I don't take a back seat to anybody in terms of keeping secret operations secret. That's not the same thing as keeping the laws secret. The laws ought to be public all the time because the American people have to know what the law says in order to make judgments about how they feel about policies and elected officials.
So do the Edward Snowden leaks help us get a better understanding of what these secret laws are, and when are we actually going to see them, or will we?
Well, I mean, we're seeing stories already, and I mean, that quote's actually very correct, that there's two kinds of secrecy. There's the programs and the methodologies, and those should be made public, because we as society need to decide whether they're a good idea or not, whether our tax dollars should support them, whether they're moral. The things like the targets, you know, who the NSA is spying on, what the methods they're using, and I'm making this up, to attack the Chinese. Those kind of things do have to remain secret. And to the credit of all the reporters, those operational things are being redacted. So while we're seeing the broad outlines of the programs, the things we need to debate publicly, we're not seeing the operational details that give the terrorists an undue advantage.
Now, you recently made a call for more whistleblowers to come to you. You said that there's safety in numbers. Have you had any more?
You know, I've had a few people come to me talk about examples where the NSA has asked for a backdoor, none where they've gotten with them, and most people are still unwilling to be public about it. And my hope is, as these stories continue, as there's more public outrage to what's going on, that more engineers will come forward and will come forward publicly. But there have been some stories, and I'm hoping for more.
And when they come forward and you come out with that article, we'd love to have you back on to talk about it. Thank you so much for joining us, Bruce.
Thank you.